to our next special guest. I'm just going to say Chief Fox because I don't want to ruin his first name. Our Chief of Police. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, and good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. The town manager asked, and I was more than happy to take the opportunity for 5 minutes or so, give or take, to spend a few minutes with you. A PowerPoint has been provided. I'm hoping it is available to you and in your packets to give you the high points as to where we are as a department. And I very much hope and very much believe that to the extent that you should have perhaps any concerns at 6:07 p.m., that you're not going to have those concerns 5 or 10 minutes from now. I believe in my heart of hearts that the department is an outstanding agency, very solicitous of, very respective of the rights of our citizens and our visitors to this town. But rather than simply wave the flag and stand on the pulpit, we wanted to use this opportunity to share with you some hard data, to share with you numbers, and to share with you facts that give you a handle as to where the Enfield Police Department is in terms of our interaction with the public, bias issues, use of force issues, accreditation issues, and compliance with some of the mandates that we see coming down the road. To the extent you have the PowerPoint and wish to follow along, I would welcome you to do so. That is what I'm going to be referencing as I speak for a couple of minutes. The very first slide after the intro slide, you'll see a reference to recent executive branch actions and social media considerations. So I was really trying to address two concerns with this slide. The first one was Governor Lamont's executive order of a week ago today, Executive Order 8, where the governor, as to state law enforcement officials, so that would be the state police and then university officers, DEEP officers, and the like, mandated certain requirements and protocols as to state law enforcement because they're within the executive branch and he can do so for them. Similarly, shortly after the events in Minnesota, I began to receive, and I know some of you began to receive, emails from constituents that were referred to as the 8 can't wait proposals. I know the mayor in particular got a couple of them because he forwarded them to me and we had a couple of communications. I want you to know that long before Minnesota occurred, we were completely compliant with every single one of the 8 can't wait proposals that have circulated throughout the nation. I've never found the originating website that gave birth to those 8 suggestions, but they do appear, and I'm not minimizing the significance of them in any way, but they do appear to have thereafter been cut and pasted by a number of constituents to a number of legislative officials and chiefs of police, because some of my contemporaries got them as well. Every single one of those 8 can't wait, the Enfield Police Department was already on top of. We were compliant with all of them. And that was an answer that I was happy to share with the mayor and with some of you. In terms of Governor Lamont's executive orders, all of the individual subparts of the governor's executive order that could reasonably or rationally be read as to pertain to local law enforcement, we are also already compliant with all of them, with the exception of the body camera issue, which will be the very last thing that I will talk to you about just a few minutes from now. Moving on to the next slide, I hate to keep touting CALEA as if it's the end all and be all, even if I do think it is the end all and be all. But rather than simply throw that out there and represent to you that it's some sort of magic shield, allow me just a couple of minutes to reiterate and review for you what this is. This is a system of voluntary compliance where agencies that wish to participate must meet 480 standards that actually consist of 1,280 specific items. And we have to demonstrate compliance with this on a regular basis. These are challenging to meet. This is not, there are no gimmies here. This is not a gift. And really what this does is it promotes and requires best practices on the part of a professional law enforcement agency. Enfield PD is one of only, it's currently 20 CALEA accredited municipal departments, and realize there are about 90 municipal departments in Connecticut. 20 of them have this badge of honor, and we are amongst them. There are about 800 accredited agencies in the entirety of the nation, and we are one of those 800. We are also compliant with what's referred to as the state of Connecticut accreditation system, if you will. And there are 3 tiers, with 1 being the lowest, 3 being the highest, and some departments not having any. We are at the highest level of accreditation. We are a tier 3. And I want that to have some significance for you to appreciate what that means in terms of our professionalism. Since 2013, next slide, racial and ethnic profiling in traffic stops. Since 2013, the state of Connecticut has been tracking the racial and ethnic makeup of individuals stopped by law enforcement to determine whether or not there are any communities that are out of line with the statistical norm. Now, let's be clear, and even the statisticians from CCSU that do this work, even the statisticians would tell you that all they are looking to determine is a statistical aberration, a variation from the norm, realizing that that does not necessarily mean misconduct on the part of a law enforcement officer. It still is much better to not be in this data whatsoever. This data has been compiled since 2013. The Enfield Police Department has never appeared in this report in a derogatory manner. There has never been an indication that we have profiled or that we have had even an aberrant or out of line level of motor vehicle contacts, which are believed by some as a fertile ground for inappropriate law enforcement action. There's never been an indication that that's been a problem in the town of Enfield. This is a study, an ongoing study, year to year. It's been in effect since 2013, and we are very good on that. Next slide for you, bias-based policing complaints. If you don't have it, you'll be able to see it tomorrow. Bias-based policing is the broad label that we use for any individual that might come in any way, shape, or form and indicate that they were treated poorly at the hands of law enforcement for a reason that they believe to be on account of any sort of bias. It could be gender, it could be sexual orientation, it could be race, it could be religion, it could be ethnicity, on and on the list goes. Once again, I went back 5 years in time, could have gone back to the beginning of time, but I picked 5 years, thought it was a fair metric. In 5 years, we as a department have received 1 bias-based policing complaint. And I would offer to you that this one is, it did not have merit. We don't believe it at the time, we don't believe it now. This was an individual that believed he was excluded from the Enfield Police Department's Citizens Police Academy on account of mental disability. So even that is not one of the, it certainly is a concern, but it's not the concern that we've really heard a big focus on in the last few weeks. In fact, this individual was excluded because they had previously attended this program and had previously gone on multiple ride-alongs with Enfield police officers. There certainly was no bias in any way demonstrated toward that person. I also took a look at our use of force tracking and reporting. Every use of force incident by an Enfield police officer generates a use of force report. That use of force report is subject to a supervisory review. It is then sent to a use of force instructor who also needs to review and approve it. It is then sent to one of the 2 department captains who then have to review and approve it. Please know that the definition of use of force is very broad, and it includes everything from an empty hand control technique to OC spray, to taser, to impact weapons, to canines, or even the use or the display of a firearm. So a drawn firearm, a firearm coming out of a holster generates a use of force report. Here's what I can tell you using that data. And ladies and gentlemen, these are facts. There's no intuition here. There's no dispute. These are facts. In 2015, we had about 69,000 calls for service. There were 39 uses of force. As you'll see when you get the opportunity to review the PowerPoint, here's the math. 0.0005649 of all interactions included a use of force. This is a fraction of a fraction of a fraction. The state police put out, and I'm going to actually hold it up to the screen so you can take a look at it. The state police, an organization I hold in certain high regard, put this out late last week. And they are touting, with a degree of pride, I'm sure, that their total uses of force into their number of public interactions is a use of force ratio that is only 2%. 2%. In Enfield, we are at 0.0005649. If you don't have the PowerPoint, I'm not going to read through all of them for you, but 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2019, we are all in the neighborhood of less than 1/10 of 1% of all of our citizen interactions are use of force incidents. There's been a lot of attention, and I think legitimately so, to recruitment efforts. So the next slide that I've prepared that you'll be able to look at, every year we do a study at our recruiting efforts. Our testing process is standardized and it is consistent with what other agencies do. It consists of a written exam, which is standardized, physical fitness card, oral interview, polygraph exam, background check, written psych, oral psych, medical exam, and a final chief's interview. Every single time we look for applicants, we make very clear that minority applicants are strongly encouraged to apply and solicited to do so. We also reach out and have reached out for years to the NAACP, to the National Latino Police Officers Association, to a group known as NOBLE, which is the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives, and locally to the Grupo Mexico-Americano to encourage those minority applications. I would also offer with a certain degree of quiet pride that I believe we are the only department in the state where every member of the executive command staff, and I would go so far as to include the former chief, teach at the community college level, where we get access to those potential diamonds in the rough, and we all try to encourage them to apply to this agency. Next to last, if you will, there's been a lot of attention to the military surplus program, the so-called 1033 program. The 1033 program was around prior to President Obama. It was robustly used by law enforcement. It was suspended under President Obama. It was brought back under President Trump. I am very pleased to tell you that we joined the Enfield Police Department joined the military surplus program about 2 years ago with the consent of the town council. However, we have never solicited nor acquired any weapons, any military vehicles, or any other military paraphernalia. All we have ever acquired has been with the pre-approval of the town council, and the pre-approval of the town manager and the post-approval of the town council, all in an effort to defray budget expenses that would otherwise have been borne by the town. I'm not asking for, I'm not looking for, I'm not soliciting any MRAPs to put in the back of the building. And frankly, I think an argument can be made that when there's military grade equipment out there that's potentially used against law enforcement, such equipment would be appropriate in our hands, but I do know it would look tone deaf, so I'm not asking for it and I'm not about to ask for it. Next to last, I included a slide, and I won't read it for you, but our community policing initiatives are considerable. I could have gone on for slide after slide after slide, but I simply tried to hit the high points, and you'll be able to see those as well. The very last thing to chat you up on, and I guess I'm just planting the seed or perhaps replanting the seed. Where are we lacking? We are probably fairly said lacking in the camera area. Our in-car camera fleet for our marked units are approximately 10 years old. The system has gone from fully functional 10 years ago, when it was state-of-the-art, to rather in a state of disrepair. I would offer respectfully that you don't have any electronics in your home that's 10 years old right now. VCRs are gone and you have the DVD, and maybe the DVD is gone and you have the DVR. To refresh our current in-car cameras and outfit all of our personnel with body-worn cameras is going to require at least 35 in-car cameras and 100 body-worn cameras. We've talked about this a couple of times now. I certainly understand the implications, the financial implications. I do think it's likely coming as a mandate sooner rather than later. I thank you for the opportunity to share these thoughts with you. I'm sorry that you weren't able to view them in real time in terms of me sharing the screen, but as Mr. Bromson indicated, it'll be available to you, and I stand ready to respond to any questions or concerns you might have.